Hello Tube Dwellers and welcome. I'm the Arcadean and this is Mabinogi Duel. Today's deck features that ubiquitous Shadow Vampire. This guy has been dominating the meta more or less since he was released, and with very good reason. He is an extremely powerful utility creature that fits into basically any deck that runs Darkness. The deck we're running today is a budget-ish kind of deck that's been making the rounds recently, so I thought we'd take a look at it and see how it ran. So, first of all, we have Hyena King. Low-cost nature creature, can be replaced with elf if you'd prefer defense over attack. That's also fine. Notira's Needle, excellent removal spell when you're running Darkness, and meshes very well with Hellhound and Shadow Vampire, both of whom are in this deck. Light Elf could be replaced with Light Elephant, but if you don't have either of those two mutants, then Flying Swords would work out just as well. Holy Missile, low-cost removal spell, not really much to say about that, you always need at least one of those in your deck. And Skeleton, again, one-cost creature, just there for early game defense, as well as for helping to flood the field for both Command Hunting and the Shadow Vampire. Next up we have Arrow of Revenge. Now we're running this because the deck is predominantly a chip damage deck, which means that we need as much damage going towards the enemy hero's HP as possible. Hence, Arrow of Revenge. Next up, Cocoon of Evolution. This is here to help block the nasty big creatures that may come our way, like the Jurgens, Doom Machines, and so on and so forth. Then we have Command Hunting, which with a deck like ours, which has a lot of very small, low-cost creatures, really shines, because you're basically guaranteed to being able to play a creature in the middle of the field and using Command Hunting to its full effect. Next up, Surprise Attack, standard low-cost removal spell, very useful. And then we have Windblade Taeon, excellent for weakening creatures in order for the Hellhound to finish them off, or Notira's Needle, and can be very difficult for your opponent to both predict and block, given that it's very difficult to both block and kill Taeon with a creature. It's more or less, you pretty much have to use a spell. Then we have Hellhound. This is for weakening all of your opponent's creatures, allowing your creatures to deal enough damage to get through. Hellhound is almost an alternative to Shadow Vampire. If Shadow Vampire is not going to be used to full effect, use Hellhound. Otherwise, use the Shadow Vampire. They do compete for resources, and they're both fairly expensive. And then finally, Shadow Vampire itself. Now, despite the fact that its ability, just saying when summoned, absorbs HP from all creatures in front and plus HP, it's a little vague. What that actually means is that Shadow Vampire will absorb health, 7 HP, increasing as the level increases. It'll absorb health from the creature that's in front of it, but it will also absorb health from any enemy creature that is also in front of another ally creature. So if you have a skeleton down on the field with an elephant, let's say, in front of it, and you play Shadow Vampire, the Shadow Vampire will absorb the HP of whatever you place it in front of, but will also absorb the HP of the elephant. And this is why it's such an amazing utility creature, because not only does it buff its own HP up to almost unremovable levels in the right situation, but it also weakens, if played correctly, every single creature on your opponent's field. Very, very powerful. But has to be used correctly in order to unlock its full potential. So, let's dive into a couple of battles and see exactly how it runs. Okay, PvP first Dan, Korean player using the Elysis hero, it looks like. Beginning to see that hero more and more. So, no mutants, which is very interesting. Mana, Nature, and Dark. And she charges up immediately, which is good for us, because it means that we can just play the elf. Now, she may have a heavy offering, but these days it's fairly unlikely. Let's see. Oh, wow, okay. Technician. So it's a defense buffing deck. That means that we need to remove... I won't do quite enough. We need to remove this guy as quickly as possible. These decks rely on basically flooding the field with low-cost kind of buff creatures, well, low-cost creatures and buff creatures in order to sort of make up for their low HP values. But throw a lot of low-level creatures out onto the field. Yeah, such as that. Buff with defense to make them difficult to remove, and then buff their attack values. So need to shut down the technician as quickly as possible. Okay, I don't really want to deal with the fairy at the moment. If we can output more damage on the field than she can, then we can basically just ignore that thing. I don't want to be chasing it around the place, and I'd rather not use a removal spell if possible. Let's see, you can tell from the time that she's taking to think about all of this now, removing that technician really, really hurt. Okay, she's dropped nature, could be spider, could be vine, could be cocoon trap. And she used poisonous spear, which is an interesting removal spell, but I can see that. But she still has enough for a trap, and there we go. It was a cocoon trap after all. No big deal. No big deal. We'll use the spell then to remove the fairy because we're no longer outputting more damage than she is. She removed our attempts at that. So get that fairy off the field. Unfortunately, because of the enemy hero's ability, our cocoon actually got a little bit of attack value boost off that. White shark. All right. I think we'll remove the white shark, actually. Yeah, not quite enough. Okay. So we'll level up and then we'll remove the white shark. It's a bit, possibly even overcommitment, but she's used so many resources and so many removal spells and things at this point that I think it's worth almost seeing if we can get this cocoon to actually hatch. At the very least, we can make her desperate to remove it, which will take attention away from anything we play in the future. So she's not sure. She's got a decent amount of resources left. Hellhound, okay, placed in front of the elf. Interesting. All right. And she goes up to 3. We'll just command hunting that out of the way. Because there's no counter counter for us there. There was no point in keeping it around in front of the elf in order to buff up for vampire because it would just have killed the elf. And she is not enjoying the chip damage. So this is actually fairly slow, but since we're not entirely sure what she wants to do beyond, there's a poison spear again, and yeah, targeting down that. So she got, as predicted, she got a bit desperate to remove the cocoon and overcommitted the resources to do so, which is great. So we'll revive to get some cards back into the hand, and then probably just charge up here, actually. I want to see what she's going to do. Yeah, we could play the skeleton, but no, we'll just keep charging, get more resources. She's building back up towards the technician because she has to. That is apparently the whole focus of her deck. But in doing so, she's giving us the ability to charge up as well. And actually, it's working out significantly better for us than it would be for her. However, now I think we'll play the skeleton, provide a little bit of pressure. We don't want her acting, we want her reacting. Ice Spear. Okay. We don't really mind too much about that. The elf was played right at the beginning of the game, and that skeleton cost is very little, so we don't mind too much. Again, with the aim of making her react rather than act, we'll place a Hyena King, and that will provide enough sort of pressure on the board that she's forced to answer it. Okay, another card goes into nature, but she's just using it to charge up for the hunt. No problem. And Mirror Ghost. Yeah, so the Mirror Ghost would have come out, the technician would have buffed all of the Mirror Ghosts. That could have been really annoying. However, we have a Hellhound ready to go, so put him in the middle of the field for command hunting for later if necessary, and he'll just wipe out all of those unpleasant little Mirror Ghosts. Now, if we'd had a lot of creatures on the field and she'd done Mirror Ghost, no, I was going to say actually we could have used the Shadow Vampire, but no, that would have been pointless. They only have 1 hit point, don't they? But yes, that could have been annoying if she'd been able to get the Mirror Ghosts buffed up. So she's still thinking very carefully. Now she has enough to bring out the Technician. I don't know if she'll... She does. Okay. That's fine, really. All we need to do is command hunting to get rid of the Technician, and then we'll charge up, because we might as well, and fire off our Arrow of Revenge with the residual damage, fatal levels being dealt by the Hellhound. So a bit of a slow game between 2 chip decks, but at no point were we ever particularly threatened. Such is the power of that Hellhound Shadow Vampire combination. All right, second fight. Okay, duel number 2 against Minjun, Korean player, first Dan. Very nice, using the default hero, 1 mutant in his deck, and he's using Mana, Nature, and Light. He starts out with Imp, which is a decent card, and all the way over in the corner, which is fairly unusual just because you don't tend to see people playing cards all the way over in the corners. So we'll remove that with a Holy Missile. It's an equal resource cost, but it puts us in the lead for experience, which is valuable. Elephant comes out. Okay, we have no real way of removing that, so we will just play a Hyena King, which puts more sort of pressure onto the board, as well as putting us up to being able to level up. Now he may remove the Hyena King, or he may try to block it. Either way, we're not too badly off. Okay, so he did decide to block it with Lorna. Cool, I like that card. So we'll just level up. There's no reason not to. The Hyena King is going to kill Lorna on the next turn anyway, because he's got to level up now. And he chooses not to in order to remove the Hyena King. Huh, okay. Interesting. Then are we looking at a Phantom of the Wolf kind of deck here? Oh, he's saying hi, nice to meet you. Okay, so we'll do that just to get rid of Lorna and get some darkness out. We'll say hi. It's great to meet you. And do we want to play? Yeah, let's play the elf. Difficult to remove, and he has to level up now. Yeah, good. He does. Okay. So we're outputting small amounts of damage onto each other. He's obviously taking the lead in terms of damage because he really committed in the early game. So we'll just charge up. We've taken more damage, but not significant enough that we're too worried about it. And now we've got more damage on the field than he does. I'm intrigued to see what he throws out now. Given that he chose not to level up in order to remove the Hyena King. Yeah, there we go. I was assuming it was an attack buff deck. Okay. Okay. I was kind of expecting Phantom of the Wolf, honestly, rather than what he played, but that's fine. Now, we have a number of ways that we could counter this, but which would be the most cost-effective? It's a shame they didn't play the wolf in front of the elf. So what we'll do is we'll use the Shadow Vampire, we'll drain all of the health, and that way, even if something goes terribly wrong, we still will have a number of creatures out onto the field. And we have ways of Meteor Drop. Okay, I'll be honest, I was not expecting Meteor Drop. Wow, all right. Okay, so he gets a fairly significant amount of damage off on us. That's, we'll level up. I was hoping that would go into darkness, actually, so that we could throw out the Hellhound, but it didn't work. So we'll use Notira's Needle. That way we get the wolf off the board, and the elephant's no longer buffed. And suddenly our, the damage we're taking drops from like 8 to 2. And Light Elf Hero Triss. All right, so the buffing and everything is understandable. Now, Triss. Always with the Triss. However, we have options. Not too many, but there is a way. Let's do this. Let's drop the Hellhound. Kills the elf. Kills the elephant. Drop Teon. Kills the elf. Jumps in front. And fire off a command hunting. There we go. All right. So we're pretty solid. That was a lot of resources that we just used, but it was also a lot of resources that he just used. Feels like crying. Yeah, I can see why. Let's see. Happy, I guess. Let's try happy. Duels are always fun. They are. They're always fun. Even when you're going up against Light Elf Triss. Oh, thank you, Minjin. That's very nice of you. All right. Now, the Windblade's going to take that fine. He's going to damage, but he's not going to kill, which, no big deal. We'll revive into our hand, and yeah, that gives us options. We could block him with the Hyena King, but I'd prefer to just take this. He obviously thought that the Triss had an opening there, which is why he's laughing. Yeah, grr, I'm mad. So we get a significant amount of damage off on him now. So he's in a lot of trouble. By removing that Light Elf Triss and the buffing wolf, we've completely disrupted his tactics. And with decks like this that are kind of borderline gimmick, that's what it's all about. It's about disrupting the tactics. So he uses basically all of his nature and a significant chunk of mana, but he doesn't play anything. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now we're pretty low, so we're going to charge up a couple of times here. Just to see where our resources are beginning to balance. We'll drop the skeleton and we'll see if he answers it. Now, if he removes the skeleton with a spell, we're in trouble, but he's used his spells a lot recently. So I don't think he has the resources left to use a spell removal. He may block us with a creature, but we're actually okay for that because if he does, we can remove it with the command hunting by discarding 2 of our nature cards in the next round. He's discarding into nature. I really hope he's not charging up for a hunt. Oh, thank goodness he's not. Okay, so he drops an elephant, hoping to buy some time, and then charges. Perfect. Okay, so we can basically do what we thought. We can discard the Cocoon of Evolution, and then discard the Hyena King, which will give us enough for the command hunting. Which, girl, I'm mad. Got a good play. Command hunting way. I like this guy. He's very chatty. And clackety clack, don't talk back. Boom. Excellent. Very nice. Very nice. Accept my friend request. Okay, sure. Why not, Minjin? I like chatty people. Let's see and let's be friends. Doesn't activate in time. Nuts. Oh well. I'll accept your friend request in a minute. And that was the end of fight number 2. Yay. And that was the Shadow Vampire deck. As you can see, he's not a card that you bring out all the time in every situation, in every single fight. He is very much situational kind of card. You have to wait for the right moment and then strike with him. However, when that right moment occurs and you manage to get it off correctly, it can absolutely turn the battle in your favor. So, if you would like to copy this deck directly into your own game, as always, there's a share code up in the top right-hand corner. And remember, you can put Shadow Vampire into almost any Darkness deck. So, if you have your own favorite Shadow Vampire-themed deck, link it down below in the doobly-doo and let everybody else see it. And who knows, perhaps it'll crop up in a future video. Well, that's all from me. So, thank you for watching, and as always, a special thank you to everyone who subscribed so far. Until next time, have fun and good luck.